All right, everybody. I'm here with Max Cohen at the Hapily booth. Max, how are you?
Slav, I'm doing well, my friend. It's good to see you.
Awesome. As you can see, we're in snowy Oregon in front of the fire.
Yep.
Using Hapily, keeping warm.
We imported this fire from Oregon, actually. Funny enough.
Yeah, definitely. Fire with the boys.
Yes.
So tell me about Hapily, man. Tell the people.
Yeah, so Hapily. Hapily, we're a company that basically just builds apps on HubSpot. If you had to boil us down into our most, simplest form, explain like I'm five, right? So we kind of grew up building utility apps that solved for very specific headaches a lot of people had on HubSpot, right? So an app that helped you clone objects in the CRM, an app that helps you use workflows to associate objects automatically. We had a customer portal before the customer portal existed in Service Hub, right? So the team kind of grew up building these smaller apps, but lately we've been kind of getting into building more products on HubSpot, right? Things that add a lot more functionality to the native HubSpot experience, right? So anything that we build, you wouldn't use it outside of HubSpot on its own, right? You only use it to extend the functionality of HubSpot itself, right? So think about HubSpot's a platform, right? Your iPhone's a platform. You download an app to make your platform do something different, same idea, in this case, the iPhone is HubSpot, right? And we're just building apps that make it do more, essentially, right? The biggest things that we're kind of talking about today is two different apps. One, we've got Event Hapily, which is an event management tool on HubSpot. So if you want to be able to manage your in-person events, your online events, your hybrid events, just using HubSpot, right? We've injected all of the missing puzzle pieces that HubSpot as a platform is missing to be able to do event management. It's the most boiled down way of explaining it, right? But it's also something that's really good for teams that attend a lot of trade shows and capture leads and try to get those into HubSpot and make sense of the follow-up and the sales that happen from that. Doing a lot of event-based ROI calculations and things like that are generally very difficult in HubSpot. Make it freakishly easy with Event Hapily. So we got that, and then we just launched a new CPQ tool, right? So all your sales teams using Kixie out there, right? If you've been having trouble with HubSpot quoting, right? We're literally bringing to native HubSpot quoting all of the CPQ features it's missing to really be competitive in the upmarket, right? So we launched with things like quoting rules, right? So your sales reps don't quote stuff they shouldn't quote, right? There's guardrails and guidance around what they're allowed to do, what they can do, what they can't do, things that you suggest that they do, right? We've rebuilt the quote building experience completely into our own UI that's a single page instead of 7 tabs you got to go through to create a HubSpot quote, right? But it still outputs a HubSpot quote at the end of the day, right? So you can use it for your automation, your reporting, all that kind of stuff. But we also brought price books to HubSpot for the first time, right? So you can take your HubSpot products library, segment it into different price books, and then apply dynamic pricing on top of them, right? So depending on the price book, the price might be different. You can enforce the use of the price book with rules, right? So if team number 1 is making a quote, make sure it's using team number 1's price book and product catalog, and then team number 2 could do that separately, right? And it just makes it all work really well. And then we're also doing advanced approvals, right? If you've done anything with quoting approvals in HubSpot quotes, it's either you're approving everything or you're approving nothing, right? Which gets you back into the wild west quoting territory. Exactly. So we literally built workflow actions into quote-based workflows that allow you to create either the simplest or the most unnecessarily complex approval processes using a HubSpot workflow for quotes, right? And we're just getting started. We're going to be doing product bundling. We're going to be doing a tax integration eventually, so we can automatically do taxes. Not today, but at some point, right? And we want to do things like a drag and drop template builder, so it's easier to build HubSpot quote templates, things like that. There is just a massive amount of opportunity to make quoting much easier inside of HubSpot, and that's the whole mission of that. But
that's
awesome, we got a lot
man.
more on the horizon too, man. We're just getting started. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I hope you heard all that. That's crazy. It's as being an app partner ourselves, we definitely know how important it is to integrate with HubSpot, make sure everything that goes in properly, and make the simplicity of HubSpot work for the customers and allow them to do even more complex things while understanding. If that made any sense. That's definitely the way to look at it for me.
And what's really cool, we associate Hapily with the we call everything like something happily, like quote happily, event happily, right? And where we believe we're offering like the elevated version of whatever that is, right, in HubSpot, just like you guys provide the elevated version of calling in HubSpot, right? Like, and so I think it's really, really cool that like, just like you might get, again, an app on your phone that comes with your phone, like a calendar, right? You can go out and get a better calendar app.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing goes for your CRM. You can go out and you can get a better calling app, even though calling's a native feature. Right? And like I think it's really cool that, HubSpot's building this ecosystem so people can come in and either put like their own spin on native functionality, do the native functionality better, provide like alternative solutions that customers can use so they can really make HubSpot their own, right? So it's just, dude, it's an exciting time to be in this space. And, with all the updates that they're making to like the app objects and, the marketplace and the object library and like all this like wild stuff, like it's never been better to be a company building apps on HubSpot like we're doing, man. So it's super fun stuff.
I agree. What do you, I guess, foresee for the future in HubSpot as far as app partners are concerned?
Yeah.
Like I know recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, they opened up the UI they announced, right?
Yes. Yep.
So that's a big deal.
Yep.
How do you foresee that changing the future of app partners and how they're able to make HubSpot integrations?
Yes. So being able to do the third-party UI extensions, especially in the middle panel, is probably going to be one of the most like impactful changes that HubSpot's ever made to like what sort of abilities they're giving like app partners to be able to inject like new features and functionality into HubSpot. Because if you think about it, up until now, what have we kind of been limited to doing, right? Sure, we can do like our pop-out cards on the right that has some sort of like iframed interface into something else, right? Or we can like inject properties, inject objects, maybe do some workflow extensions. But like those middle panel cards are going to be able to let partners bring like an unimaginable amount of like net new functionality into like the standard objects that we already know, but even now like custom app objects that they're injecting, right? Like we have a ton of plans on like how we're going to make it easier for people to handle like invites to events, managing sessions for events, being able to like duplicate stuff, delete things quickly, manage things from one place instead of jumping from record to record to record to record, right? It unlocks so much functionality that app partners can really inject into HubSpot. And I'll tell you what I'm even more excited about. Yamini kind of talked about in Partner Day, this sort of like third horizon, right, for how they're kind of seeing the marketplace evolve. And this is kind of really in line with like stuff that I've been thinking about, where like, when I think of like what's on the app marketplace, you've got integrations, which is like other tool that you would use outside of HubSpot, talking to HubSpot. You've got apps, which are things that like just add net new functionality into HubSpot. I think there's going to be this like whole other category, which we've seen in like the Salesforce ecosystem and stuff like that. But we're still infants over here on the HubSpot side of things. I think there's going to be this whole like new category of like products built on HubSpot. Right? And so when I think of like a product built on HubSpot, that would be an app that like non-HubSpot users can interact with and use for some kind of like a point solution, but it's like a point solution for a specific thing whose sole purpose is to have the best possible integration with HubSpot possible, right? Like I want to see who's going to build the POS system for HubSpot. We want to build the booking system for HubSpot that like, the 17-year-old, like, checking people in at the gym isn't going to get a sales pro seat, right? He's got to be able to interact with something that's going to send data back into HubSpot and be able to be powered by the data in HubSpot and create deals and, like, do all this other stuff, right? So, like, I think you're going to see this whole extra category of, like, hey, we're building these whole products, but the back end, the contacts, the revenue data, the this and that that's going back and forth is all powered by your HubSpot database, right? That's going to get really exciting. Like, I want to know who's going to build the ERP for HubSpot, right? Like, that's the big, I think, golden goose out there, right? So
that's crazy.
Dude, we're at the ground floor too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. This is just the beginning in the grand scheme of things. This is like, if you look at the iPhone and what the App Store did to the iPhone, right? We're at like right when the App Store came out for the iPhone.
Yeah.
Right. If you were to relate that back to HubSpot, still in the grand scheme of things, even though sure apps been out for a while, there's 1,700 apps in the App Store.
Yeah.
That's nothing. That is basically zero. right? Compared to the opportunity that's really kind of out there in the future. So it's like, what a good time to get into this space and build shit on HubSpot, man. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
exciting.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Max Cohen, thank you, bro.
Dude, Slob, thank you, man.
We got to get back. We're going to continue roasting marshmallows. We'll see you all next time. Hell yeah.
Love it. Thanks,
Awesome,
man.
bro.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing.
So, dude,
It's awesome.
absolutely. Are you guys
Yeah.
still doing the truck?